The year was 2476 and Earth was dying. The once blue planet now floated in space like a forgotten grave. The oceans were thick with poison. Black oil covered the waves. The skies were gray, hiding the sun behind clouds of dust and smoke. Cities that once touched the clouds now stood empty. Their towers crumbled into the ground. The streets were silent. No voices. No laughter. No life. Humanity had left long ago. They had spread across the stars, building new homes on distant worlds. Only a few remained on Earth. Scientists, scavengers, people who could not let go of the past. They walked through the ruins like ghosts, searching for scraps of what was once a great civilization. Far above the dead planet, something moved in the darkness. Deep space sensors aboard human satellites picked up a strange signal. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, unnatural. The analysts on Mars saw it first. They thought it was debris, maybe interference. But the signal grew stronger, clearer, closer. Then they appeared. Unknown ships entered Earth's orbit. Massive vessels shaped like blades. Their hulls glowed with green and silver light. The metal seemed alive, shifting and breathing. The fleet moved in perfect formation, surrounding the planet like predators circling wounded prey. They called themselves the Harvesters. Their mission was simple. Drain the planet dry. Take everything. The minerals, the metals, the energy buried deep below the crust. To them, Earth was nothing but a corpse. A dead shell waiting to be picked clean. The Harvesters deployed their machines. Enormous drilling platforms floated above the ground, held up by invisible gravity fields. Massive drills extended downward, spinning faster and faster. The metal glowed red-hot as they tore into the earth. The ground shook. Dust filled the air. On the bridge of the lead ship, Commander Cordell watched the operation. His eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. His voice was cold and confident. "The planet is weak," he said. "Its core is unstable, but we will extract what remains. Prepare for full harvest." His second officer hesitated. "Commander, there are traces of old human structures near the drilling zones. Should we avoid them?" Cordell turned slowly. His expression was emotionless. "No. Nothing living remains here. Continue." The drills dug deeper. At first, everything went according to plan. The machines tore through rock and metal with ease. Energy readings were stable. The Harvesters had done this 1,000 times before. Strip a world. Move on. It was simple, efficient, profitable. But then something changed. The temperature readings began to rise. Sharply. Far beyond expected limits. Pulses of energy rippled through the ground. Not random. Not natural. They came in patterns. Like a rhythm. Like something responding to the intrusion. "What is that?" one of the engineers asked, staring at his screen. The readings showed waves of energy surging upward from deep below. They pulsed faster. Stronger. Like a heartbeat waking from sleep. Cordell leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Analyze it." "Unknown source, Commander. The energy is old. Very old." Deep beneath the surface, far below the forgotten ruins, something ancient stirred. The vibrations from the drills traveled downward through layers of rock and soil. They reached buried chambers that had been sealed for thousands of years. Inside those chambers, massive figures lay dormant. Giants made of stone and steel. Their bodies were covered in dust and crystal roots. Their eyes were closed. Their hearts were silent. Until now. One of the drills struck a specific layer deep in the crust. A pulse of energy erupted upward like a shockwave. The ground cracked open. Bright light escaped, burning through rock and metal. Across the orbiting fleet, alarms screamed. Systems failed. Ships spun out of control. "Magnetic field spike," shouted one of Cordell's officers. "Shields failing." Cordell's expression hardened. "Shut down the drills. Now." But it was too late. The planet's magnetic field came alive. It twisted violently, like an invisible storm. Several Harvester ships lost control. They spiraled downward, crashing into the dead oceans below. The drilling machines melted under the surge of energy. Their cores exploded in blue fire. On the ground, beneath the ruins of an ancient temple, the first sealed chamber cracked open. Inside, a massive figure lay still, covered in dust, forgotten by time. Slowly, a dim golden light began to glow from its chest. The light grew brighter, warmer. The crack spread wider. And then it breathed. The sound was deep, mechanical, like thunder rolling across mountains. The figure's eyes flickered open. 2 orbs of blinding light. Dust and stone fell away as the giant began to move. The ground trembled as the giant rose. Dust cascaded off its massive shoulders like waterfalls. Its body was ancient, covered in symbols no living human could read. Half metal, half stone, the creature stood taller than any building left on Earth. Its chest glowed with golden light that pulsed like a living heart. Above the surface, the harvester sensors screamed with warnings. "Commander," an engineer shouted. "Something is moving beneath the crust. It's massive." Cordell stared at his display in disbelief. The energy reading was unlike anything in their database. Alive? On this dead world? Impossible. Another tremor shook the planet, strong enough to knock alien vessels off balance. Several smaller ships crashed into each other, their shields overloading. Then the ground split open. A massive crater formed miles wide. From its center, a beam of golden light shot straight into the sky. It pierced through the clouds, bright as a star. Every sensor aboard the alien fleet went blind for 3 seconds. When they recovered, the readings made no sense. "What have we done?" Cordell whispered. Through the smoke and fire, the giant stepped forward. Its movements were slow but deliberate. Each footstep created shockwaves that rippled across the ground. The symbols on its body began to glow brighter, flowing with golden energy like veins of liquid fire. It raised its head and looked upward at the alien ships hovering in fear. The Guardian had awakened. Miles away, hidden behind the ruins of an old power station, a small group of humans watched in shock. They were scavengers. Survivors. People who refused to leave Earth even when everyone else fled. Their leader was a woman named Era Voss. She wore dusty clothes and carried a tablet covered in cracks. Her dark hair was tied back, and her eyes were sharp with intelligence. She stared at the drone feed on her screen, barely able to breathe. "Is that real?" whispered her partner Dallin. He was younger, with nervous hands that gripped his weapon too tightly. Era zoomed in on the giant figure standing in the crater. She studied the symbols carved into its armor. Her eyes widened. "It's not alien," she said quietly. "Look at those markings. They're Terran. Proto-human language. Pre-Exodus." "You mean, a human?" Era nodded slowly. Her heart pounded. "It's built with materials we can't even make anymore. This is ancient human technology. Thousands of years old." Dallin stared at the screen. "But why would humans build something like that?" Before Era could answer, another tremor rolled through the earth. Her scanner beeped frantically. More energy signatures. Rising. Spreading. "There are more," she whispered. "Deep underground. They're all waking up." In orbit, Commander Cordell regained his composure. He refused to be intimidated by a relic. "Deploy scout drones. I want full scans of that creature. If it can be destroyed, I want to know how." Dozens of small spider-like drones detached from the ships. They flew down through the smoky atmosphere, their cameras locked onto the Guardian. As they approached, the giant's eyes shifted. Slowly. Deliberately. The drones froze in midair. A low vibration passed through the atmosphere. It was barely audible, but every machine felt it. The air itself seemed to bend. Then, without warning, one drone imploded. Crushed by an invisible force. The others tried to retreat, but a wave of energy sliced through them like paper. They turned to dust and scattered in the wind. Cordell slammed his fist on the console. "What happened?" "Unknown force, Commander. All drones destroyed." His voice turned cold. "Deploy ground troops. I want samples. If that thing can bleed, I want to know what it's made of." Large transport ships descended through the clouds. They landed near the crater, releasing squads of harvester soldiers. The aliens were tall, insect-like creatures covered in silver armor. Their weapons glowed with blue energy. They moved cautiously toward the Guardian, setting up scanning equipment and energy stabilizers around its feet. Era watched from her hiding spot. She spoke softly into her recorder. "Alien forces approaching the Guardian. They're armed. Looks like they're trying to capture it." The alien commander on the ground raised his hand, gesturing toward the Guardian's chest. "Begin extraction. Harvest its core." That was their mistake. The moment their drills touched the Guardian's armor, a blinding surge of light exploded outward. The shockwave hit like a hurricane. Aliens and machines were thrown through the air like toys. Era and her team were knocked to the ground, their ears ringing from the blast. When the dust cleared, the Guardian had moved. Its massive hand reached down and crushed one of the drilling rigs. The metal crumpled like paper. The ground shook with each step the giant took. Its eyes burned brighter, focusing on the aliens with cold awareness. "It's defending itself," Era breathed. "It knows we're here." For a brief moment, the Guardian's gaze swept across the ruins. Its eyes found Era. She froze. The giant stared at her for 3 long seconds. There was no hostility in those glowing eyes. Only recognition. As if it remembered her. As if it remembered humanity. Then it turned back toward the alien fleet. Above, Cordal's warship descended lower. Its massive cannons began to charge. "Fire at will," he commanded. Dozens of plasma bolts rained down. They slammed into the Guardian's armor, sending waves of molten metal splashing across the ground. The impacts were deafening. The heat was unbearable. The Guardian staggered but did not fall. Instead, it raised one arm toward the sky. Energy gathered in its palm, glowing brighter and brighter. Then it released. A column of golden fire shot upward. It struck Cordal's ship directly. The shields overloaded instantly. Explosions rippled across the hull. The bridge filled with sparks and smoke. Evasive maneuvers. Cordal screamed. But it was too late. The engines failed. The massive warship tilted and began to fall. It plummeted through the atmosphere, trailing fire and smoke. It crashed into the poisoned ocean with a deafening roar, sending up a wall of steam. The Guardian stood motionless once more. Its body glowed brighter with each breath of the planet beneath it. Lightning crackled across the sky, drawn to the giant like iron to a magnet. Era's voice trembled as she recorded. "It's not just defending itself. It's protecting Earth. It's a guardian. That's what it is." Her scanner beeped again. More energy signatures rising across the globe. In deserts, under mountains, beneath oceans. "There are more of them," she whispered. "They're all waking up." High above, what remained of Cordal's fleet regrouped. The commander pulled himself from the wreckage, his armor scorched. His voice was filled with rage. "So be it. If this world wants to fight, then it will burn." He turned to his remaining officers. "Summon the full fleet. Prepare for planetary bombardment." Outside, the alien warships aligned their weapons. Their cannons began to glow. Far below, golden light continued to spread through the Earth's crust like veins of fire. And in the darkness beneath the surface, another pair of ancient eyes opened. The second Guardian was awakening. The sky turned red with fire. Massive plasma beams rained down from orbit, carving deep scars across Earth's surface. Explosions lit up the gray clouds. The ground shook with each impact. Mountains crumbled. Valleys filled with molten rock. The air burned with heat and smoke. But through the chaos, the Guardian stood unmoved. Each blast that struck its body seemed to vanish into its armor. The golden light beneath its surface grew brighter with every hit. It was not being destroyed. It was absorbing the energy. Feeding on it. Commander Cordal watched from his rebuilt command center aboard a secondary ship. His eyes narrowed with frustration. "Keep firing," he ordered. "That thing must fall eventually." His science officer's hands shook as he checked the readings. "Commander, the energy levels are spreading again. Multiple signals detected beneath the crust. They're activating across the entire planet." Cordal's voice was sharp. "How many?" The officer swallowed hard. 6 signatures. "Now wait. 8, 9. Still rising." "Impossible," Cordal hissed. Far below, Era and her team crouched in the ruins. The ground beneath them trembled like a living thing. Cracks opened in the soil, glowing with golden light. Dust and debris fell from crumbling buildings. Dallin clutched his rifle, his face pale with fear. "Era, what's happening?" She watched her scanner screen. Lines of energy spread outward from the Guardian's position, forming a network that stretched across continents. "They're connected," she whispered. "All of them. Like a web." Another explosion erupted overhead. The shockwave threw them backward. Era hit the ground hard, the wind knocked from her lungs. Through blurred vision, she saw the Guardian move again. The giant raised its arm toward the eastern horizon. The golden light along its body pulsed once. Twice. Then the ground miles away exploded upward in a shower of sand and fire. A second colossal figure rose from beneath the desert. This one was different. Darker. Its body was covered in patterns of blue energy instead of gold. Sharp angular lines ran across its armor like circuit boards. Sand cascaded off its shoulders as it turned its massive head toward the sky. Era's voice was barely a whisper. "There's another one." The second Guardian released a deep sound. Not a roar. Not speech. A pulse that rippled through the air like thunder rolling across mountains. The vibration shook buildings. It made the alien ships tremble. The first Guardian answered. Its own pulse echoed across the land. The two sounds synchronized perfectly, creating a harmony that resonated through the planet itself. Aboard Cordal's ship, alarms screamed. "Commander, energy levels are off the charts. They're communicating. Forming some kind of network." "Shut it down." Cordal barked. "Target both of them. Maximum firepower. Now." The entire fleet opened fire. Thousands of plasma beams converged on the two Guardians. The bombardment was so intense that the sky turned white. For several seconds, nothing could be seen through the blinding light. The heat was enough to melt steel. When the glow faded, Cordal leaned forward. His claws gripped the console edge. Both Guardians were still standing. Their armor was scorched black in places, but the energy flowing through them had grown even stronger. The golden and blue lights pulsed faster, brighter. The air around them shimmered with waves of heat. Then they moved together. The two Guardians raised their arms in unison. Energy gathered between them, forming a massive sphere of light. It grew larger, spinning faster, crackling with power. They released it. The combined blast shot into the sky like a spear of fire. It struck the lead alien warship dead center. The hull melted instantly. The beam tore through 3 more ships behind it, cutting them apart like tissue paper. Explosions filled the sky. Debris rained down. Alien vessels burned as they fell toward the planet. Cordal's ship rocked violently. Sparks flew from the consoles. Officers shouted over the alarms. "Evade." "Evasive maneuvers." Cordal roared. His fleet scattered in panic. But the damage was done. Nearly half his ships were destroyed or crippled. On the surface, Hera watched in stunned silence. Her hands trembled. "They're not just defending," she said quietly. "They're fighting back. They're winning." Dallin pointed at the scanner. Hera looked. More signatures. All over the world. The screen showed energy readings rising from dozens of locations. Under oceans. Beneath mountain ranges. In the frozen wastelands of the poles. Everywhere. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, the sealed floor cracked open. Water rushed into ancient chambers that had been dry for millennia. A third Guardian stirred, its body covered in crystalline armor that reflected light like diamonds. In the Himalayas, avalanches buried entire valleys as a fourth Guardian pushed through the ice. Its body was white as snow, covered in frost that never melted. In the deserts of Africa, the sand swirled in massive cyclones as a fifth Guardian rose. Its armor was bronze, etched with symbols of the sun. One by one they awakened. Hera felt her communication device buzz. Static filled her ears. Then through the noise she heard a voice. Ancient. Mechanical yet somehow warm. "Children, returned?" She froze. "Did you hear that?" Dallin shook his head. "Hear what?" The voice came again, vibrating through her skull. Not through her ears but through her bones. Through her blood. "They come again, to take what is ours." Hera fell to her knees, clutching her head. Images flooded her mind. Visions of the past. Ancient humans standing beside these giants. Building them. Programming them. Giving them one final command before sealing them away. Protect the cradle. Protect humanity. When the vision faded, tears streamed down her face. "They're human creations," she gasped. "Built by our ancestors. They were made to protect Earth. To protect us." Before anyone could respond, a shadow fell over the ruins. The largest alien ship yet descended through the clouds. It was 10 times bigger than any other vessel. A floating fortress covered in weapons and drill arrays. This was the core extractor, designed to pierce a planet's crust and drain its molten heart. Cordal's voice thundered through the fleet's communication system. "No more games. If we cannot harvest this planet, we will tear out its core and leave it to die." The massive ship extended enormous rotating arms. Each one ended in a drill glowing red-hot. The drills spun faster, building up heat until they burned brighter than the sun. All across Earth, the Guardians turned their heads as one. The ground beneath them began to glow. The oceans churned. Lightning danced across the sky, drawn to their bodies. The planet itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, from the deepest parts of Earth, something responded. A rumble echoed from below. Deeper than any earthquake. Older than mountains. The crust split open in dozens of places, releasing columns of golden light that shot into space. Cordal stared at his screens. His confidence finally cracked. What is that?" The sensors showed something rising from the core itself. A structure. A presence. An energy signature larger than anything they had ever recorded. Hera's eyes widened as the ground beneath her began to crack. Light poured through the fissures, warm and alive. "That's not a Guardian," she breathed. The narrator's voice whispered through the chaos. Before the Guardians there was something older. Something born from the planet itself. The heart of Earth. The first sentinel. The ground exploded upward. Rock and fire launched into the sky. From the molten depths, a shadow rose. Massive. Ancient. Alive. Its eyes opened, burning brighter than stars. The sentinel had awakened. And the true battle was about to begin. The earth split open like a wound. Magma erupted from the depths, spraying into the sky in rivers of fire. The heat was unbearable. The light was blinding. From the heart of the planet, something ancient pulled itself upward, clawing through layers of rock and metal that had buried it for millennia. Era and her team were thrown backward by the shockwave. Buildings collapsed around them. The ground tilted at impossible angles. She grabbed onto a piece of broken concrete, her fingers digging into the stone as the world shook apart. "Hold on," she screamed. Through the smoke and fire she saw it emerge. The sentinel was not like the Guardians. It was bigger. Older. Its body was forged from molten rock and crystal, glowing with veins of liquid gold. It looked like both machine and living creature, as if the planet itself had taken form. Steam rose from its surface. Its eyes burned like twin suns. The air around it bent and twisted from the heat. All 8 Guardians across the globe stopped moving. They turned toward the sentinel and knelt. Their lights dimmed in silent reverence, like soldiers bowing before their king. Era could barely breathe. "It's not just a machine," she whispered. "It's the planet. It's Earth itself." The sentinel's head rose above the clouds. Each movement shook continents. Mountains crumbled in its wake. Oceans boiled where its heat touched the water. In orbit, Commander Cordell stood frozen. His scaled hands gripped the console so hard his claws left marks in the metal. "What is that thing?" he breathed. His science officer's voice cracked. "Unknown, Commander. The energy readings are impossible. It's drawing power directly from the planet's core." Cordell's eyes narrowed. "Then it's not invincible. It's tied to this world. If we destroy the planet, we destroy it. But Commander, if we destabilize the core." I said fire. The fleet opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of plasma bolts rained down. Missiles streaked through the atmosphere. Energy beams carved through the clouds. The bombardment was so intense that the sky turned white again. The heat could melt cities. The sentinel stood motionless. It let the fire wash over it. When the smoke cleared, it was completely unharmed. The alien weapons had done nothing. The missiles had bounced off. The plasma had been absorbed. The sentinel's body glowed brighter than before, as if the attack had only made it stronger. Then it moved. The sentinel raised one massive arm. The motion was slow, graceful, almost gentle. But when it swept its hand across the sky, reality itself seemed to bend. A wave of invisible force rippled outward. In seconds, dozens of alien ships simply disintegrated. They turned to dust and scattered in the solar wind. Others were hurled away like leaves in a storm, spinning out of control into the void. Cordell's ship shook violently. Consoles exploded. Officers were thrown from their seats. The lights flickered and died. Shields failing. Hull breach on decks 4 through 9. Engines offline. "Commander, we're drifting." Cordell slammed his fist on the console. "All ships retreat to high orbit. Now." What remained of the fleet scrambled to escape. They burned their engines at maximum power, desperate to get away from the planet. On the surface, Era watched the sky clear as the alien ships fled. For the first time in hours she could see stars again. "They're running," Dallin said, disbelief in his voice. "They're actually running." The Guardians rose from their kneeling positions. Streams of energy flowed between them and the Sentinel, connecting them in a vast network of light that wrapped around the entire planet. The web pulsed like a heartbeat. Then the Sentinel spoke. Its voice was not sound. It was a vibration that traveled through everything. Through stone. Through metal. Through flesh and bone. Every living thing on Earth felt it in their chest. "You have awakened what should remain in peace." The words echoed across continents. Even the aliens in orbit heard it, the voice resonating inside their skulls. "This world is not yours to take." Era fell to her knees. The voice was overwhelming. It felt ancient beyond measure, like standing before something that had existed since the birth of the planet itself. Cordell's remaining ships regrouped at the edge of Earth's orbit. His bridge was in chaos. Half the systems were offline. Bodies of dead crew members lay among the wreckage. But his rage burned hotter than any fire. "Bring the core extractor forward," he commanded. If we cannot take this planet, we will destroy it. His officers hesitated. Commander, if we pierce the core while that thing is active. Do it. The massive core extractor ship moved forward. It was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons and drilling apparatus. This was their ultimate tool, designed to crack planets open and drain their cores dry. The ship's central drill began to spin. It glowed red, then white, building up energy. The drill was powered by a miniature star, hot enough to burn through anything. On Earth, the Sentinel's eyes tracked the approaching ship. The Guardians around the planet turned their gaze upward as one. Era felt her communication device crackle to life. A human voice came through, urgent and desperate. This is Outpost Sigma calling any surviving teams on Earth. We've detected the awakening. We're sending reinforcements, but you need to hold on. Era grabbed the device. This is Ground Team Alpha. The Guardians are active, but there's a massive alien ship approaching. It's targeting the planet's core. Understood. We're tracking it. If that drill reaches the core while the Sentinel is connected to it. The voice paused. The entire planet could explode. Era's blood ran cold. She looked up at the Sentinel standing above the clouds. Then we have to stop them. Dallin stared at her. How? We're just a handful of people with rifles and broken equipment. Era's eyes locked onto the Sentinel. We're not alone anymore. The core extractor entered low orbit. Its drill pointed down toward the planet's surface. Energy crackled along its length, building to a level that made space itself distort. Fire, Cordell ordered. The drill released a beam of pure destructive force. It was not plasma. Not energy. It was concentrated annihilation, designed to unmake matter itself. The beam shot down toward Earth's crust. The Sentinel moved faster than anything that size should be able to move. It raised both arms and caught the beam. The impact created a shockwave that flattened everything for miles. The sound was like reality tearing apart. Light exploded outward in all directions. Era and her team were thrown into the air. She hit the ground hard, her vision going black for a moment. When she opened her eyes, she saw the impossible. The Sentinel was holding the beam. Its hands glowed white-hot. Energy crackled around its body. The ground beneath it began to crack and sink from the pressure. But it held. The Guardians around the world sent their energy to the Sentinel. Golden and blue light streamed across the sky, converging on the giant figure. The network grew brighter. Cordell watched from orbit, his expression twisted with disbelief. More power. Overload the drill. Burn through it. The core extractor's drill spun faster. The beam grew wider. Hotter. The ship itself began to shake from the strain. The Sentinel's body cracked. Molten rock dripped from its arms. Its eyes flickered. But it did not fall. Instead, it began to push back. Slowly, inch by inch, the Sentinel forced the beam upward. Its voice thundered across the planet. This world is not yours to destroy. Era watched in awe. She could feel the strain. The Sentinel was giving everything it had. But it was not enough. The alien drill was too powerful. She looked at the ruined building beside her. Inside was an old access terminal, half buried in debris. It was ancient human technology from before the Exodus. The neural interface, she breathed. The Guardians were designed to be piloted. Dallin grabbed her arm. Era, no. You tried that once and it nearly killed you. She pulled away. If I don't try, we all die anyway. She ran toward the Sentinel. Her team shouted after her, but she didn't stop. The heat grew more intense with every step. Her skin burned. Her lungs screamed for air. But she kept running. The Sentinel seemed to sense her approach. A section of its chest armor parted, revealing a chamber glowing with golden light. Era didn't hesitate. She leaped inside. The moment she touched the core, her mind exploded with sensation. She felt the planet's heartbeat. She felt the flow of magma thousands of miles below. She felt the collective memory of every Guardian connected to the network. And she felt the Sentinel's pain. Link, established. The voice whispered in her mind. Power flooded through her. She could see through the Sentinel's eyes now. She could feel its strength. Its determination. Let's finish this, she said. The Sentinel's eyes blazed brighter than ever before. Its body straightened. The cracks in its armor sealed with new molten rock. It roared. The sound shook the heavens. Lightning split the sky. The Guardians around the world answered, their combined power flowing into the Sentinel like rivers feeding an ocean. The Sentinel channeled everything into one final attack. A column of pure golden fire erupted from its core. The beam was so bright it could be seen from Mars. It shot upward, engulfing the alien drill completely. The core extractor's shields failed instantly. The hull melted. The drill shattered into pieces. The entire ship was consumed in seconds. Cordell's scream was cut short as his command ship exploded. The blast lit up space like a second sun. When the light faded, silence returned. Debris floated in orbit. The alien fleet was gone. Nothing remained but wreckage. On Earth, the Sentinel stood tall. Its body was cracked and smoking but still standing. Inside its core, Era collapsed. Her vision blurred. She could barely breathe. "We did it?" she whispered. But then her sensors detected something. A faint signal. Far beyond the solar system. Something had been watching. And it was coming. Era lay in the Sentinel's core chamber, barely conscious. Her body was weak. Her skin was pale. The connection to the ancient machine had drained almost all her energy. But she was alive. Around her, the golden light of the core flickered and dimmed. The Sentinel was powering down. Its massive body stood motionless, half buried in the smoking crater. Steam rose from its cracked armor. Outside, the sky was clearing. The gray clouds parted, revealing stars for the first time in decades. The alien debris burned up as it fell through the atmosphere, streaking across the sky like shooting stars. Dallin's voice crackled through her communicator. Era, can you hear me?" She coughed, her throat dry. "Still alive. Thank God. We're coming to get you." A rescue ship from Outpost Sigma descended through the clouds. It was small and battered, held together with patches and prayer. But it was humanity's ship. Oh. The vessel landed near the crater's edge. Medics rushed out, carrying equipment. They climbed carefully up the Sentinel's body, using ropes and magnetic grips. When they reached the core chamber, they found Era barely breathing. "Get her out." Carefully, the lead medic ordered. They lifted her onto a stretcher. As they carried her down, Era looked back at the Sentinel's core. The light was fading. But she felt something. A presence. Watching her. Grateful. "Thank you," she whispered. The Sentinel's eyes flickered once. Then went dark. On board the rescue ship, Era was placed in the medical bay. Tubes and monitors were attached to her. The doctors worked quickly, checking her vital signs. She was weak but stable. Captain Nash, commander of Outpost Sigma, stood at the door. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen too many wars. "Will she survive?" he asked. The doctor nodded. "She's strong. She'll make it. But she needs rest." Nash looked down at Era. "She saved the planet. She's a hero." Through the ship's window, they could see the Guardians still standing across the globe. They were motionless now, like giant statues. Their lights had dimmed but not died. They were sleeping again, waiting. The ship lifted off, rising through the atmosphere. As they climbed higher, the full view of Earth came into sight. The planet looked different now. The cracks in the ground glowed faintly with golden light, like veins of healing energy spreading across the surface. "It's beautiful," someone whispered. But then the ship's sensors began to beep. Urgently. The navigation officer frowned at his screen. "Captain, I'm picking up something. A signal. Coming from deep space." Nash walked to the console. "Show me." The screen displayed a wave pattern. It pulsed steadily like a heartbeat. The frequency was strange. Not human. Not like the harvesters either. It was something else entirely. "Where's it coming from?" The officer checked the coordinates. "Beyond the edge of our solar system. It's moving toward us." Nash's expression hardened. "How fast?" "Very fast. At this speed, it will reach Earth in approximately 72 hours. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The battle was not over. On Earth, in a hidden facility deep underground, human scientists monitored the same signal. Dr. Chin, head of xenology research, stared at the data with growing dread. "This is not good," she muttered. Her assistant looked over her shoulder. "What is it?" "This signal matches patterns from the ancient war. The one that nearly destroyed humanity 10,000 years ago." She pulled up historical records, fragments recovered from pre-Exodus ruins. "Our ancestors fought something. Something powerful. They built the Guardians to defend Earth. But they couldn't destroy the enemy. They could only drive it away. You think this is them? Coming back?" Dr. Chin nodded slowly. "The Sentinels were never meant to fight forever. They were meant to buy time. To give humanity a chance to grow stronger." "Are we stronger?" She didn't answer. In orbit around Mars, the human colonial fleet received the same data. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the battleship Defiance. She was a tall woman with sharp features and calculating eyes. "Opinions?" she asked her officers. The signal is definitely approaching Earth, said the tactical officer. Whatever it is, it's big. Multiple ships. Possibly hundreds. Taurus crossed her arms. Do we have time to evacuate Earth? Not the whole planet. Maybe a few thousand people. But the Guardians, we can't move them. Then we fight. Taurus turned to her crew. Send a message to all colonies. Tell them Earth is under threat. We need every ship. Every weapon. Everything. Her communications officer hesitated. Ma'am, some colonies won't help. They abandoned Earth decades ago. They don't care about it anymore. Torres's voice turned cold. Then remind them. Earth is humanity's cradle. If it falls, we all fall. We came from that world. And we will die defending it if we must. The message was sent across human space. Responses came quickly. Some colonies pledged support. Others refused. Humanity was divided, scattered across the stars. But enough answered the call. Ships began to move. Battle cruisers, carriers, mining vessels retrofitted with weapons. Even civilian transports carrying volunteers. They all turned toward Earth. Back on the rescue ship, Era's eyes opened. She felt the vibration through the hull. The ship's engines were straining, pushing hard. What's happening? She asked weakly. Dallin sat beside her bed. His face was grim. We picked up a signal. Something's coming. Something big. Era tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. The harvesters? No. Something else. Something worse. She looked out the window at Earth below. The planet looked peaceful now. But she knew it was a lie. The peace would not last. How long? She asked. 3 days. Maybe less. Era closed her eyes. Her body screamed for rest. But her mind raced. She had touched the Sentinel's memory. She had seen fragments of the ancient war. The images were blurry, incomplete. But she remembered one thing clearly. The enemy that came before was not like the harvesters. The harvesters wanted resources. They could be reasoned with. They could be scared away. But the ones coming now, they wanted something else. Something darker. They wanted extinction. Far beyond the solar system, in the cold darkness between stars, a fleet emerged from hyperspace. The ships were massive, built from black crystal that absorbed all light. They moved in perfect silence, like shadows sliding through the void. At the center of the fleet was the largest ship, the Harbinger's throne. Inside its bridge, a being of immense power stirred. The Harbinger was not like other aliens. It was ancient, ageless. Its body was made of living energy contained in crystalline armor. Its eyes glowed red like dying suns. It stood before a massive viewport, staring at the distant light of Earth's sun. The cradle still lives, it said softly. Its voice echoed with layers of sound as if many beings spoke at once. How amusing. A smaller figure approached. One of the Harbinger's servants. My lord, shall we proceed with the extinction protocol? The Harbinger tilted its head. No, not yet. I want to see them struggle first. I want to watch them remember why they fear us. But my lord, the Guardians have awakened. The Sentinel is active. The Harbinger's eyes flared brighter. Good. Let them wake. Let them fight. It will make their defeat so much sweeter. It raised one hand. The fleet began to accelerate. Faster. Faster. Space bent around them as they tore through reality itself. On Earth, the Sentinel's eyes suddenly flickered open again. Golden light pulsed weakly through its cracked armor. It was too damaged to move. Too weak to fight. But it could still sense. It felt the approaching darkness. The ancient enemy. The one it was built to face. Deep in its core, where Era had touched its consciousness, a message formed. A warning. The Sentinel sent it out through the network, to every Guardian, to every human device connected to the old systems. One word echoed across the planet. They return. In the medical bay, Era gasped. Her eyes snapped open. She saw the warning flashing on every screen. No, she whispered. Not yet. We're not ready. But ready or not, the Harbinger was coming. And this time, the battle would decide humanity's fate forever. The countdown had begun. The next 72 hours passed in desperate preparation. Across human space, ships gathered above Earth. Battle cruisers from Mars. Mining vessels from the asteroid belt. Even old colony transports fitted with whatever weapons they could carry. Humanity was assembling its fleet, but everyone knew it was not enough. On Earth's surface, engineers worked frantically to repair the Guardians. Welding crews climbed the giant figures, sealing cracks in their armor. Energy technicians tried to recharge their cores. but the damage was severe. Most Guardians could barely move. The Sentinel remained in its crater, unmoving. Its body was too damaged to fight again. But its eyes stayed open, watching the sky. In Outpost Sigma's command center, Admiral Torres studied holographic displays. Ship counts. Weapon inventories. Defense grids. The numbers were grim. "We have 200 ships," her tactical officer reported. "Most are lightly armed. Against a fleet this size." He trailed off. Torres knew what he meant. They were outmatched. Outgunned. Outnumbered. "What about the Guardians?" she asked. Dr. Chin stepped forward. 3 are functional enough to fight. Maybe 4 if we push them. The rest need weeks of repair time we don't have. And the Sentinel? Still too damaged. If we force it to fight, its core might collapse. That could trigger a chain reaction through the planet's mantle. Torres clenched her jaw. So we're on our own. In the medical bay, Era sat up in bed. She was still weak but conscious. Dallin brought her reports on a data pad. "The fleet's in position," he said. "But Torres doesn't think we can win." Era scrolled through the tactical assessments. He was right. The numbers were impossible. "Have we tried communicating with them?" "We sent every frequency we know." No response. "They're not interested in talking." Era looked out the window at Earth below. The planet looked so small. So fragile. "Then we make them interested." "How?" She stood on shaky legs. "I need to get back to the Sentinel." Dallin grabbed her arm. "Era, no. The doctors said." "I don't care what they said. The Sentinel is the only thing powerful enough to face them. And it needs a pilot. You almost died last time. Then I'll die this time. But I have to try." Before Dallin could argue further, the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed throughout the ship. A voice boomed over the intercom. "All hands to battle stations. Enemy fleet detected. They're here." Everyone rushed to the windows. In the darkness of space, something appeared. The Harbinger's fleet emerged from hyperspace like a wound opening in reality. Black ships materialized one by one, hundreds of them, each larger than any human vessel. They blocked out the stars, casting shadows across the moon. At the center was the largest ship, the Harbinger's throne. It was the size of a small planet, covered in spikes and crystalline structures that pulsed with dark energy. Torres watched from the bridge of the Defiance. Her hands gripped the railing. "My God," someone whispered. The alien fleet moved forward slowly, deliberately. They were in no hurry. They knew humanity could not stop them. Torres opened the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, hold position. Wait for my command." On Earth, the 3 functional Guardians activated. Their eyes blazed to life. They stood tall, preparing for battle. But even they looked small compared to what approached. The Harbinger's throne moved ahead of its fleet. It stopped just beyond the moon's orbit. Then, for the first time, it sent a message. The signal came through every device, every screen, every speaker. Human and Guardian alike heard the voice. It was ancient, powerful, filled with cold amusement. "Humans of Earth, I am the Harbinger. I have come to finish what was started 10,000 years ago." Torres responded immediately. "This is Admiral Torres of the human fleet. You are not welcome here. Leave now or we will defend our world." The Harbinger laughed. The sound made the hulls of ships vibrate. "Defend? You remember nothing. Your ancestors tried to stop us once. They built their metal gods. They fought with everything they had. And still, we nearly erased you from existence." On Earth, Dr. Chin pulled up the ancient records. Her face went pale. "It's true. The war 10,000 years ago. It was against them." The Harbinger continued. "We left you alive as an experiment, to see if you could evolve beyond your primitive nature. But you have not. You still cling to this dead world. You still waste resources. You still destroy yourselves." Torres's voice was steady. "We survived. We grew. We spread across the stars. And we will survive you too. No. This time we will finish the cleansing. Your species ends today." The Harbinger raised one hand. The fleet behind it began to move forward. "All ships," Torres commanded. "Open fire." The human fleet launched everything they had. Missiles streaked through space. Energy beams cut across the darkness. Nuclear warheads detonated in brilliant flashes. The enemy fleet didn't even slow down. Their shields absorbed the attacks effortlessly. The black crystal of their hulls glowed faintly, feeding on the energy. Then they returned fire. Dark beams shot from their ships. Not plasma. Not energy. Something else. When the beams touched human vessels, the ships simply stopped existing. They vanished, erased from reality. In seconds, 50 human ships were gone. Evasive maneuvers. Taurus shouted. Scatter formation. The fleet broke apart, ships fleeing in all directions. But the enemy was faster. Their weapons tracked with perfect accuracy. More ships disappeared. On Earth, the Guardians launched their own attacks. Golden beams shot into space, striking enemy vessels. Some ships exploded. But for every one destroyed, 10 more took its place. Era reached the transport shuttle. Take me to the Sentinel. Now. The pilot hesitated. Ma'am, the battle? Do it. The shuttle dropped from Outpost Sigma, racing toward Earth's surface. Around them, debris from destroyed ships rained down, burning through the atmosphere. In space, the Harbinger's throne moved closer. It ignored the human attacks. Its attention was focused on Earth below. Interesting, the Harbinger mused. The Sentinel still functions. Damaged but alive. Let us see if it remembers me. It raised both hands. Dark energy gathered between them, forming a massive sphere. The energy grew larger, pulsing with destructive power. Taurus saw it forming. Her blood ran cold. All ships protect the planet. Get between them and Earth. The remaining human ships moved into position, forming a wall between the enemy and their homeworld. They knew they couldn't stop the attack. But they would try. The Harbinger released the sphere. It shot forward, a ball of annihilation the size of a city. It tore through space, destroying everything in its path. The human ships opened fire, trying to slow it down. They threw themselves in front of it, sacrificing their lives. One by one, the ships disappeared. But they bought time. Precious seconds. On Earth, the Sentinel's eyes flared brighter. It tried to move, but its body was too damaged. It could not rise. Era's shuttle crashed near the crater. She ran toward the Sentinel, her legs barely holding her up. The heat was intense. The ground shook. Come on, she gasped. Wake up. We need you. The sphere of dark energy approached Earth's atmosphere. It would hit in seconds. The impact would crack the planet in half. The Guardians combined their power, forming a shield above the planet. Golden light spread across the sky like a dome. The dark sphere hit the shield. The collision created an explosion that lit up half the solar system. The shockwave shattered moons. The sound was like reality screaming. The Guardian shield held. Barely. Cracks appeared across its surface. The Guardians' bodies glowed white-hot from the strain. Era reached the Sentinel's core chamber. She pressed her hands against it. Please, she whispered. One more time. We need you. I need you. The Sentinel's eyes flickered. Deep inside its damaged core, something stirred. A spark of consciousness. A memory of purpose. Pilot, returned. Era felt the connection forming. Energy flowed through her. Power. Purpose. Let's show them what Earth is made of, she said. The Sentinel's body began to glow. Cracks sealed with molten light. Its massive hands pushed against the ground. And slowly, impossibly, it began to rise. In space, the Harbinger watched. Its red eyes widened slightly. So, it can still fight. Good. The Harbinger smiled, showing teeth made of crystal. Then let us truly begin. The dark fleet surged forward, and the final battle for Earth began. The Sentinel rose from the crater like a titan awakening from death. Molten rock dripped from its body. Golden light blazed through the cracks in its armor. Each movement shook the ground for miles. Steam erupted from its joints as ancient systems came back online. Inside the core chamber, Era felt everything. The Sentinel's pain. Its determination. Its rage. The connection was stronger this time. Deeper. She was not just piloting the machine. She was becoming part of it. All systems online. The Sentinel's voice echoed in her mind. Power at 60%. Warning, core instability detected. 60% will have to be enough, Era said through gritted teeth. The Sentinel turned its burning eyes toward the sky. The dark fleet was descending through Earth's atmosphere. Hundreds of black ships entering like a swarm of locusts. The 3 functional Guardians stood beside the Sentinel. Their lights synchronized with its rhythm. Together, they represented Earth's last defense. In space, Admiral Torres watched the enemy fleet split into attack formations. Her own fleet was down to less than 80 ships. They were outgunned and outnumbered 10-1. All remaining vessels fall back to Earth's orbit, she commanded. We make our stand here. Her tactical officer looked at her with fear in his eyes. Admiral, we can't win this. Torres's voice was steel. Then we die fighting. But we die protecting our home. The human ships formed a defensive line above the planet. Old battle cruisers. mining vessels with improvised weapons. Even civilian transports whose crews refused to flee. They all stood together. The dark fleet opened fire. Black beams cut through space. Human ships exploded one after another. The line began to collapse. But for every ship destroyed, the others pushed forward, buying time. On Earth, the Harbinger's throne descended through the clouds. It was so massive that its shadow covered entire continents. Lightning crackled around its hull. The air itself screamed as the ship pushed through the atmosphere. The Sentinel raised its arms. Golden energy gathered in its palms, growing brighter and brighter. Then it released. A beam of pure light shot upward, striking the Harbinger's throne directly. The impact created a shockwave that flattened forests and boiled oceans. The blast was so powerful it could be seen from Mars. But when the light faded, the Harbinger's ship was still there. Its shields had held. Only a few scorch marks marred its black crystal surface. Inside the throne room, the Harbinger stood unmoved. It looked down at the Sentinel with its glowing red eyes. Impressive. You are stronger than before. But still not enough. The Harbinger raised one hand. Dark energy swirled around its fingers. With a simple gesture, it sent a wave of annihilation downward. The Sentinel and the Guardians combined their shields, forming a dome of golden light over the planet. The dark wave crashed against it. The collision created explosions that turned the sky red. The shield cracked. The Guardians' bodies began to overheat. Smoke rose from their joints. Era screamed as she felt the strain. It was like being crushed from all sides. The pressure was unbearable. "We can't hold it," she gasped. But the Sentinel's voice was calm. "We must." Then something unexpected happened. Across Earth, the other Guardians began to activate. The damaged ones. The broken ones. Even those buried under rubble and water. They were too damaged to fight, but they could still give their energy. One by one, they sent their remaining power to the Sentinel. Streams of golden light rose from all corners of the planet, converging on the giant figure in the crater. The Sentinel's body blazed brighter than the sun. Its power surged. The cracks in the shield began to seal. The Harbinger's attack was pushed back. In the throne room, the Harbinger's expression changed. For the first time, it showed surprise. They are sharing power. Acting as one network. Clever. It turned to its commanders. Deploy the Reapers. All of them. Thousands of smaller ships detached from the fleet. They were different from the others. Sleeker. Faster. Deadlier. These were the Reapers, the Harbinger's elite forces. They descended like rain, landing across every continent. Each one transformed upon impact, shifting into massive war machines. Towering mechs covered in dark crystal armor. They carried weapons that could shatter mountains. The Guardians engaged them immediately. Across the globe, titans clashed. Golden light against dark energy. The sound of their battles echoed like thunder. In space, Taurus saw the situation deteriorating. "We need to take out that throne ship. It's the command center. If we destroy it, the fleet might scatter. Admiral, our weapons barely scratch their shields. Then we ram it." Taurus turned to her crew. "All remaining ships, form up on the Defiance. We're going to punch through their lines and hit that ship with everything we have." Her officers stared at her. They knew it was a suicide mission. "For Earth," she said simply. "For Earth," they echoed. The human fleet burned their engines at maximum power. They charged straight at the Harbinger's throne, firing everything they had. Missiles, beams, even physical projectiles. The barrage was desperate and reckless. Enemy ships moved to intercept, but the humans didn't slow down. They rammed through the blockade, sacrificing ships to clear a path. The Defiance led the charge. Its hull was already on fire, shields failing. But Taurus pushed forward. "Get me close enough for a clear shot." They broke through the enemy line. The Harbinger's throne loomed before them, massive and terrible. "Fire all weapons. Now." Every ship released their remaining arsenal. Nuclear warheads detonated against the throne ship's shields. Energy beams carved into its hull. For a brief moment, the shields flickered. "Again?" Taurus shouted. "Hit it again." But before they could fire, dark beams lanced out from the throne ship. They cut through the human fleet like knives through paper. The Defiance was hit. The bridge exploded. Taurus felt the heat wash over her. The world tilted as the ship began to break apart. Her last thought was of Earth. Of home. On the planet's surface, Era felt the deaths of the human fleet. Each loss was like a knife to her heart. Tears streamed down her face. "No. No more." The Sentinel's voice was gentle. "They died protecting their world. Protecting you. Honor them. Era's grief turned to rage. She channeled everything she had into the Sentinel. Every ounce of pain. Every moment of fear. Every memory of what Earth used to be. The Sentinel responded. Its power exploded beyond anything it had shown before. Golden fire erupted from its body, spreading across the planet like wildfire. The Guardians around the world synchronized completely. They were no longer separate beings. They were one consciousness, one weapon, one defender. The Sentinel spoke, and this time its voice shook the heavens. You will not take this world.